Hello and welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday, the show where we discuss any issues or challenges you may be having. The concern we are handling in this segment comes from Princess Yellow, and it reads, "There is an acquaintance of mine that likes to study with me. However, I don't really have a work ethic when I'm with them. It's not like I don't like helping them, but they tend to overstay their welcome, and I'm not quite sure how to communicate this."
Yeah, that's hard. I totally understand your position. And while it's important to have a sense of what's the word? Tolerance and patience, definitely patience. Um, both of those things are super important, and I know you have those things. You're trying to figure out how to do what's best in the scenario and move things in a different direction. Um, because if the person is causing you to have a bad work ethic or whatever, something needs to change there. And if you're kind of in this relationship where you're like you're uneasy and they're always around you and you just kind of want them to back off or have some time away from them, that can be hard, especially because um, we don't want to make another person feel bad. um, we end up we just swallow that, and just take it ourselves. And I can totally relate to that. I've done that a lot. Um, I'll tell you that I've never, um, looking back at it, I don't think I've ever really regretted being patient and just dealing with the issue internally, um, a whole lot. Um, so even though what you're doing right now is uncomfortable and you'd like it to change, what you're doing isn't bad, you know, um, holding off and just kind of letting him walk over you a bit. But at the same time, yeah, it's important, especially in a situation where you're trying to have a better work ethic. Um, it's an important thing to meet people equally and be transparent with each other so that you can have a better relationship. A relationship doesn't thicken and get stronger because someone holds back a lot of times. Sometimes it is, but when there's an issue and it's not taken care of, a relationship usually gets to the point where one person doesn't want to be around the other. And then at some point it bursts and it just like, no, get away from me. Stop coming here, And you don't want that to happen. You don't want to have a bad image of the person or have this sense of pain every time you're around them. So the best thing that you can do is talk to them about it, even though that's totally outside your comfort zone.
Oh my gosh. That's
Um,
really uncomfortable.
and take as much fault and obligation as possible. So you need to come at it with a solving sort of like, hey, this is the problem and I just want to solve it. I just want to, fix the issue so that our relationship can be really great, you know? And if you want to be like my brother, then this is how I would, I want to be transparent with you. I want to be honest, and so if you don't mind, I have a really hard time studying when we're together. You may not see that, but for me, a lot of times I get a lot more work done when I'm on my own. And if you get a lot more work done when we're together, then that's cool. I don't mind helping you out, but um, at some point, I need you to go and leave so that I can start working on my own and get some stuff done. Um, and so it's not like I hate you or anything. It's just that this is the way that works best with my mind, the way that I understand things. So, and I understand it's not your fault. It's entirely my fault. It's just the way that my brain works, and I want to use that, to the best of my ability. This is just how my brain works. And so, if you don't mind, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, no problem. I can leave. Yeah, I understand." Hopefully. And if he's not like that, if he takes offense, if he feels like everything you said is a lie just because you're trying to push him away, then his mind is not in the right place. And yeah, you got to do a little work with him to make him understand, like, no, it's not you. I'm just trying to fix the situation so that, I can move forward, the best I can, and grow the best I can in my work, and everything else. It has nothing to do with you. You might have to talk through with him, because a lot of people in our society now, um, even in history, past, whatever, I say society now, but technically throughout all history, people are very self-conscious, and people think if someone has some sort of, hey, can you get away from me for a second just so that I can do this by myself, people naturally take offense to that. It's not that anything's wrong. It's just that we all work differently. And there's a time for fun and play, and there's a time for working. And those things aren't incompatible, it's just that people who are self-conscious or have a low self-esteem or are depressed quickly assume the worst before they assume the best. And so you have to work at it to make sure that he's going to not assume the worst. So I hope that helps. But yeah, honestly, if you try to take the approach where you're being super subtle and not actually saying what you mean, you're only going to dig yourself in a hole. You don't want to be subtle. You do want to be tactful. You do want to be not in his face, but you don't want to put out signs like, doesn't he understand what my gesture was? Doesn't he know he's supposed to leave? Like, doesn't he get like how I'm acting right now? Doesn't he understand, like, I'm trying to push away a little? Like, why can't he see that? You don't want to do that. Yeah. How would you approach talking about an issue of jokes being unknowingly hurtful?
Would that be hurt, like he's telling jokes that are hurtful to you, or and being taken seriously? So does that mean he's not taking you seriously, I'm guessing?
How would you approach talking about an issue of jokes being unknowingly hurtful? Oh, okay, yeah.
So and then
Yeah.
he doesn't take you seriously?
Yeah, because I have so in Europe, this is a common thing in Europe. Although it's kind of weird for me to say that, but I'm going to point a finger a little bit at London.
Sorry.
Not just Europe, not all of Europe, London specifically. Okay. London has a specific culture and a sense of humor that is very harmful, unfortunately. A lot of the people that I talk to there, their sense of humor is to make fun of each other a lot, point out each other's flaws whenever possible, and laugh about it. Yeah, London. And London is in Europe, by the way.
England, specifically.
England, even more specifically. Now, not everybody in London is like that, but a lot of people I've met are like that. No. England, yes. England is a place. I'm specifically talking about London as a very specific place, London. So I don't, yes, England in general, but London, as weird as that is, it has a very specific culture, different than the rest. Although it does leak into other cultures, and other cultures have similar features. London is, in my mind, from what I've seen and all the people I've talked to throughout the world, the most like this mostly exemplifies what I'm talking about. So a type of joking that is very, like I said, it's kind of harmful. And even though they don't necessarily intend to hurt another person, just their sense of humor points out the flaws in others and doesn't edify or lift each other up. And so it can be really hard. A lot of people in London experience this, and they do it themselves, and yet are still personally offended when other people do it to them. Because there's really no way to get around that. You're hanging around the people you care about and you value the things they have to say, and they end up being mean to you in their jokes. And how do you not take that personally? You know,
Mhm.
I mean, there is a sense of self-control, deciding what you want to be offended about or not. That does exist. You can learn to ignore people, or you have whenever you feel offended, realign your emotions and act differently than as if you're offended, and help that realign your emotions as well, and just kind of be able to not be offended by anything, have a sense of self-confidence where you're not offended by anything anymore. And that's something you can do, but it's not always easy. It takes practice, um,
Mhm.
and you're not always going to be perfect at it. um, you're going to let your guard down sometime.
Yeah.
It happens, especially in a relationship. um, so anyways, I totally understand your point, and I think if you want to bring that up, um, and be taken seriously, all you can do is talk about it like I just did there. And if he doesn't take you seriously, and if he just doesn't worry about it, if he's just ignorant or ignoring your concern, then my suggestion would be to not, as hard as this is, not not subject yourself to his jokes anymore, and that you kind of remove him from your personal environment,
Mhm.
back away, kind of be like trying to softly end the relationship and say, like, but you can even say it to his face in a very nice way, like, um, I don't appreciate being made fun of,
Mhm.
and if you're going to continue to do it, then I don't really want to be around you, and so this is the end of our relationship. I really don't want to experience that, and unless you want to be nicer to me, then that's cool. Then we should continue the relationship. I'd want to. I think that you're an awesome guy. I see you as a great friend, but it doesn't help me to hang around somebody who's at my throat, or
Yeah.
making me look bad to myself, or making me feel bad. It doesn't help me, um, and it doesn't really help you either. So if you could stop,
Yeah.
that'd be nice. And unfortunately, all of this is just through communication, and you just have to be honest with them and blunt to a degree while being tactful. But it's not easy. You have to make your point and put a little threat behind it and follow up with that threat. If you say these things to them, and and you're sincere, but you don't follow through, it's only going to make things worse. You really have to follow through. You have to distance yourself and say, no, I don't want to talk to you. Welcome. But I mean, like, if he welcome, Kirby. If he if he, continues to just be around you, and even though you've already said, like, hey, look, I don't want to be around you, continue to be like, no, you're if you just let him be around you after you said you don't want to be around him, it shows him that he can kind of walk all over you. It doesn't matter what you say, he's gonna be there, and it doesn't matter. Um, so yeah, you have to follow through with whatever you say you're gonna do. Unfortunately, even parents have to learn this, and it sucks. You
Yeah.
don't. If you threaten your child and then you don't follow through with it, like, I'm gonna spank if you do that, and then they do it and you don't spank them, you've only taught them to do what you've only taught them not to listen to you. You know. And same thing
Mhm.
with adults. Same thing with teenagers, between adults. Yeah.
Yep. No, everything that you just said, Ryan, was so spot on, and as far as the practical side of what you need to do in the situation, that's exactly right. There is a time when you need to assert yourself. And the way Ryan is, his personality is so tactfully pure and
Oh, you're so
wonderful.
sweet.
I'm telling you, man, you can smooth over so many things, Ryan, just from your abilities. And so take that, the nugget of wisdom that Ryan just gave you, and that's so hugely powerful. the only thing that I would say is maybe some things you can do in the background in your own life that might
Mm.
help with these interactions that you're going to have. Because in order to be taken seriously, you're going to have to be serious. And in order to do that, there has to be, um, you have to first decide where you want your boundaries to be. You need to set those up for yourself. You know, okay, these are the boundaries I'm going to set with this person. And it might not take right away, but you know, at least you have, okay, these are clear lines I want to have with this relationship. Maybe you want them to be completely, you don't want to see them ever again. And then it doesn't matter. You can be as rude as you want, you know, because
Wouldn't
you're
recommend it,
going
but
to
yeah.
destroy the relationship. What's that?
Yeah, wouldn't recommend it, but yeah, you could.
Right. Yeah. But so, but first set up those boundaries. And then, because sometimes I remember, you know, I learned these things to say to people, but I did not have the confidence to do that. And there are a lot of people in that situation where it's like, oh my
It's hard.
gosh, you know, I don't know how I can do this. I know the right thing I'm supposed to do, but I just cannot bring myself to do that because of fear, because of uh, you know, a self-esteem issue I was dealing with, whatever it is, you know. And I don't particularly know your situation, Princess,
She's
but
amazing. That's all you need to
well,
know.
I do know, I do know about the amazing factor, but as far as internally what's going on in your mind and your heart, you know, I'm not other than the amazing. Um, but something I learned is that when you set boundaries for yourself, it kind of almost commands others to respect you, you know. Um, okay, it's not,
Mm.
okay. And then some things you can do.
Can you give an
Just
example of
huh?
Can you give an example of what you were just speaking about?
What was I just speaking about the
Um,
examples?
Setting boundaries and making sure you set boundaries and how doing so will kind of command people to respect you. Can you give like an example of like a boundary that you would set and how you would do that?
Um, well, okay. This one in particular, there are nuances with your relationship, and since you see them in classes and all that kind of stuff, there are nuances that I haven't experienced. But you know, like if I'm meeting a new person, you know, um, I have. It took me a while to set these boundaries, but now I've set up boundaries where it's like, okay, I don't just give my phone number out. You know, I might give my email address, maybe, you know, but this is a boundary that I set in my mind. Okay, I'm not going to go beyond this line. You know, this person's going to know my name. Sometimes I don't even give out my email. Sometimes it's just like, I just, you know, say, hey, go to bss.studio, you know, you can, you know, or whatever. And if they decide to find me there, or if the, or maybe they're like, oh, are you on Facebook? Yeah, I'm on Facebook, but I only check it like once every 2 months. I don't tell them that. But at the same time, you know, those boundaries, you know, if you are willing to tell somebody no, that can command respect.
Mhm.
if if this person comes to your place and you know you're like, oh, I just don't want to deal with this person, you know, maybe on the spot you can come up in your head, oh man, I'm really sorry, I'm just leaving, you know. And you can, and this fits into something else that I was going to get into about how to kind of build some of that confidence level if you don't have it yet, to have these difficult conversations. You can start doing some exercise. I don't know if you already do, maybe you can bump it up a little bit of a notch, but physical activity, you know, creates things in your body that then kind of automatically raise your stature in your own mind. You know, these types of things can improve that. So physical activity can do that. Any other types of disciplines that you know are good, you can start small. And like Ryan was talking about with fasting earlier, you know, you can do things like that. The more you have discipline. Even if you're a snooze button hitter, if you stop hitting the snooze button, it increases your self-respect. And those little tiny, seemingly insignificant steps can build a posture in you that will prepare you to have these conversations. And then you'll be able to say, oh, you know what? I'm really sorry. I'm just heading out to go for a walk, or I'm heading out to go for a run, or head out to, clear my head for a little bit or something, and then maybe then you're removed from that situation, and he's going to have to find his own place to study. Maybe
Yeah.
he can go back to his room and study.
Right. And that's actually a really great line, a very tactful one that says, hey, actually, I'm just headed out, gonna take a run to clear my mind or whatever. Then it doesn't give him the opportunity to say, oh, can I run with you? If he does, he say, no, I just need to clear my mind. So I just need to kind of go by myself and have a conversation, reflect, etc. And they'll be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yep. And then because if you start to respect yourself more and more and more, then that kind of, you don't even have to say anything, and other people, you kind of start to command that respect more and more with others. And then when you say something, you'll be taken more seriously. There's, so all those kind of little background factors can play into, the conversations that Ryan talked about. You'll just have a more of a posture when you have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. I know what it did for me.
Cool. Does that help, Princess? Does that give you the answers you're looking for, or did we fail to answer any of your concern there? Because I totally understand it's not easy.
Yes. Yep. It is tough to use a boundary with people if you like it really has to be clear in your own mind, just like that, I mean, that, so then you get to decide. That's the coolest thing about it. You get to decide.
Yeah, I have people every once in a while ask for my shipping address, just because they want to be able to send me stuff in the mail. But I have a boundary there just because I'm not the only one that lives where I live. There, at the time I was living with a bunch of kids and it wasn't even my house. So that allowed me to say, like, no, sorry, I just can't give it to you. Like, we're best friends. I get that. Like, but I'm not giving it to you because it's just what I've set. And, it's my brother's house and it's his children. And if somehow someone else gets a hold of this information, I'm not saying that you are going to do something bad, but who knows who could find this, so, or hear my conversation or whatever. So I'm just not going to, I've got a lot on my plate here as far as making sure no one gets hurt. So, um, and it is kind of weird because drawing that line presents itself that, like, oh, you don't trust me kind of idea thing. But in that sense, there's other boundaries that don't do that. It's just like, sorry, I have to be bed at this time. This is my thing, don't, or whatever it is, that sort of boundary. But yeah, certain boundaries might make people feel like you don't trust them. But at the same time, like Joe said, that also demands a certain sense of respect, and that coming to that amount of trust or amount of respect is something that has to be earned over time, and that sort of thing, and through their attitude and influence in your life, and etc. So, yeah, it's just kind of part of life, and it's not always beautiful. It's not always pretty, but it is a good thing and it's important. I mean, obviously we have boundaries already, like, hey, I'm not going to do this terribly, completely immoral act or like killing somebody. No, like if someone comes up to me like, hey, will you kill Josh over there? And I'll be like, no. Well, you don't trust me? That's a good idea. It's nothing to do with trust. I just don't kill people. All right. Similarly, it's like, I just don't give away my number. All right. I don't give away my address.